You were listening to episode 141 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody. Here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and we game and watch and have a ball in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
So, this week we unfortunately did not get to play much Blue's Clues for Ryan. I have family coming into town, and we just can't record on Sunday in person like normal. So,
John, I'm sensing there's a reason that we couldn't play this, and I'm sensing that there might be three parts to this mystery. I'm going to have to get the aid of a small canine to solve this problem.
So, we'll play Blue's Clues next week, Ryan. But
we're going to play Blue's Clues to solve why we couldn't play Blue's Clues this week. No, we're not.
No, we're not. Yeah, so we actually played the Game and Watch minis that you can purchase right now in like any Walmart location or Target. And yeah, I mean, dude, I bought mine a long time ago. You bought yours recently, and we figured, why not talk about them? See what we both think. So we'll dig into that. Got some good articles this week as well. So one of them's actually not an article. One of them is a first for us. It's a Reddit thread. So we're going to be talking about the predatory monetization of Pokemon Unite, according to one Reddit user and potentially more. We're also going to look at the new PS5 Digital Edition model revision that's coming in. And then we are going to discuss, again, Netflix and its expansion into gaming. And it turns out they're looking at mobile. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But to start out, as always, Ryan, any pickups? Any currently playing?
So,
no?
I will say this, John. You and I both have the same pickup. You just got yours early, and the store that I was going to pick them up on, they didn't want to give it to me early, and they wanted me to narc on the store. But we're talking Magic the Gathering, the D&D series. Like, if you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that me and John definitely get down on some D&D. And you definitely know that John will pay a lot of money for Magic cards. Apparently, I'm going to pay a lot of money for Magic cards coming up soon, because I've talked about it multiple times. I'm super stoked for this set. I'm super stoked for the 40K set. I'm super stoked for the Lord of the Rings set. And I'm going to bring the wall to Isengard as soon as all of this is complete, with a triple orc deck. D&D orcs, 40K orcs, Lord of the Ring orcs, all combined into one giant wog of death. So this is the first step.
You're going to make an Orc Commander Deck.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay. I see. I don't even know what Commander format is. It's been so long.
Oh, Ryan, you, my son, have so much to learn on Magic the Gathering. It has been quite a while. I mean, I honestly haven't played in a tournament setting in years, but I've kept up with it for the most part. You know, for instances like this, when there's a set that comes out that I'm really excited about and I want to jump into, I knew it was coming down the pipe, right? So yeah, I actually got my pickup early. I went to a shop in town, and I don't know if they got the pre-release stuff mixed up with the booster box, like whoever it was that put in the order information, like to say, hey, your order's ready. But I got a message that said, hey, your order's ready. I said, well, screw it. I'll go down there and get my stuff. So I picked up my box, and I had no problems. So Ryan, unfortunately, went to another store that he ordered from. And Ryan realized, if you would have purchased it from the store that I went to, like I told you to, you would have your box too.
Well, yeah, but that's all the way on the other side of town.
No, it isn't. It's actually closer to you than the one that you ordered it from.
Oh, well, that one's right next to my job.
What, the one? Oh, yeah, that's true. Because
it's so easy to make the money and then take the money to right where I want to spend it.
Yeah, see, I had to drive about 20 miles for mine. but regardless, dude, I ended up getting it, which is nice. So I'm not going to narc on the store, but thank you to that store for giving me my product early on accident.
Good job, store.
Good job. Let's see. What else did I get? Because you didn't get anything and you're not playing anything, right? Is that correct? Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, that's pretty much true. That's pretty much true.
Okay.
I'm still a giant disappointment to everyone around me.
He truly is. All right, let's move on to my current pickups. You see what it is, folks? I have to actually pick up the slack sometimes because Ryan just isn't buying anything and he's not playing anything.
Yeah, but you pick up so much slack, John. Your house is just full of slack. There's slack strewn about all over the place.
I think every room has slack in it. All right. So along with the D&D set, I also today, as a matter of fact, which...
John, do you like to slack off all over your house?
I'm not going to answer that. Okay, so just don't look at the ceiling. All right, so today we're recording, and it is Thursday. Yeah, today's Thursday. Normally we record on a Sunday. So Thursday, John in the past picked up a One-Up Arcade Mortal Kombat Legacy Edition or whatever it's called. It has Lord Raiden on the side of it and has like 12 games built in, but it will soon have most likely like 1,000 games built in. So that is what we're aiming for with that. But dude, I've been wanting a Mortal Kombat style arcade cabinet from One Up for a long time. Finally just walked into Walmart and they happened to have it. And I was like, here's my money, take it. I need it. And just walked out. And the funny thing is my wife, I called her up and like, hey, can you bring a cart? She's like, what do you need a cart for? I'm like, I'm buying an arcade cabinet. And it was like, okay, I'll go get a cart. So there was like no complaining on that front. The next thing that I got was Balan Wonderworld, which laugh all you want, Ryan. But it
Well,
was
John
20.
texted me. He's like $20 for Ballad in Wonderworld, and I'm like, who wants it?
Well, John wanted it because he bought it for $20. So picked up that brand new on Switch for $20. And then also today I picked up the D&D Rage of Demons miniature booster case. So that one in particular is actually the set, the what is it, Enter the Abyss or Out of the Abyss campaign that you ran a while back, or that we didn't get to finish, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's actually the booster case associated to that campaign. Main reason I picked it up is, obviously running an Avernus campaign that has many demons in it, as well as devils. And there's some things I can actually pull out of that booster case and use in my existing campaign. So that's the primary reason I bought it. And then our friend Joel, who was on an episode several weeks back, he has a crap ton of minis. And so he and I were like, well, why don't we just like trade each other minis? Like, you're probably not going to need, these Darrow and a couple like Copper Dragons. So why don't you give me those? And then I'll take, or you can take X that I have that I don't need. So that's kind of what we're looking at, is trading miniatures, which is a first for me. And yeah, pretty stoked, man. I can't wait for that to come in. And I also bought some, what is it, Nolzur's unpainted, whatever the hell they're called, some of the unpainted minis as well that I'm going to be using in my campaign.
Nice.
Yeah, so good stuff, man. So if you want to crack open a Rage of Demons with me, let me know, and
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be a good one, because I don't think you've ever cracked one of his open, have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
but I do have something that could be considered a potential pickup because it's related adjacently to the kinds of things that we're interested in talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I've recently redesigned my nerd room, and I wanted like a little retro corner. So I got like this old piece of furniture at a Goodwill that looks like something that you would have grown up with as a child in the 90s. It's like an all wood, like like hexagonal shaped table with like double doors that open, and then I'm going to order like an old CRT with a built-in DVD player to put on top of it. I'm going to have like a little old retro corner in my chill room upstairs.
That's gonna be badass, dude. That's gonna be some good stuff when you have it all set up.
$10. Go to your local Goodwill. You can find stuff.
No, don't have them go to Goodwill. That's my spot. They can go off to Savers. Go to Savers. They have plenty of stuff there. It's just overpriced. Let's see. And I'm currently playing. I finally beat Biomutant. And
hey, good job.
Yeah, it sucked. So let me do my quick review spiel on Biomutant. So the game itself visually was not bad. It's a pretty cool environment, right? But my thing is, in games like this, you have your Fallouts, your Oblivions, your Skyrims, and all that. And this particular game, like, while it has that type of environment, it's just so repetitive. And that's what all the reviews were bad about, right? Like, all the negative reviews were, it's repetitive. Once you do one side quest, you've done all the side quests. And that really is the truth. There's just so much repetition tied to it. And more so even like the main quest. Like, the bulk of your quest is either to like save this like crazy tree of life type of thing, right? By killing these like 4 world eaters or letting the tree die. And like the 4 world eaters that you're supposed to kill as part of that like other part of the campaign, essentially are like the same type of boss battle in the same format. And one of the other things I notice is that, like, even though you have like all these weapons available to you, like a sword or a gun or magic abilities and all these other things, or mutation type abilities, the most powerful thing in the in the game is a gun. So you're just like frequently shooting things the whole time. You don't need to actively use any other weapons if you don't want to. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So and the narration aspect that we've talked about in the past just isn't good. It just kind of kills the entire story. There's no sort of emotion from the characters in this game. Not even your own character has emotion. It's just this crazy narrator the whole time talking, and it's just not a good vibe like the entire way through. So after, we talked about this a little bit last week as well. After playing a few side quests, kind of getting sick of it, just said, screw it. I'm going to play the main campaign, run through it, and then play my next title, which is God of War. So I'll get into that in a minute. But as far as Biomute's concerned, not worth your money. Inflated, 100%. Buy it at like $10, $15. Have some fun. But after that, no, not even worth it.
Now, would you take up the same? This is kind of the position, and I haven't played Biomutant, and I'm probably never going to play Biomutant, but from what I've heard people say and what it looks like to me, and you know, given that this is like a huge project for a small studio, would you say that this is like a really good first attempt and that you're like waiting to see what the studio is capable of doing for a round two?
I think they bit off more than they could chew, is the way I would look at this. And so it's not to say that it's a bad first attempt, because it's a great first attempt. The problem is that if this is going to be their style, where you have a narrator or you have like repetitive aspects of the game like that, then I would say don't even bother developing anymore, because people don't like that. It's just way too damn repetitive. Now, if they went into, say, Biomutant was, just the campaign, like the main story, and there were no crazy side quests and it was linear, then I would say it probably is pretty decent. But the problem is they try to do way too much with such a small team. And I mean, this game has been in development for years. So, you know, eh, along the way, I'm just shocked that like nobody kind of came through and said, hey guys, this is super repetitive, or hey, the story just isn't that great, or people want emotion with their, instead of this, they want like the characters actually talk. They don't want to hear a narrator the whole time. I feel like those are things that should have been caught a long time ago. And either they were and they just didn't have the budget to complete, get full out voicing, or they weren't caught and they were just like, oh, we think this is great. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a good first attempt. I mean, visually it's not bad, and control wise it works. Like it's a good game in those respects, but it's just way too big for what they were trying to do, or for what they are, I would say. So yeah, that's just my general opinion on it. And I do know games like, Skyrim, for example, have you might have a character who's like, hey, how are you? And then it has like just text kind of running through. I honestly would have actually preferred to have something like that for this game, or even just like turning off the narrator altogether, which you probably can. I didn't even check to see if you can or can't at this point, but just having the different like animal languages and such, and then kind of bouncing in with his narrator saying like, oh, such and such a person said this. It kills it. It just isn't good. So
Well, I mean, that's pretty much the general consensus. So I mean, people have tried that. Yeah, people have tried that and it just hasn't worked out. Like there's a reason that like after, like Bastion, that was going to be a popular thing, it would have taken off 10 years ago.
well, and that particular, view of like the narrator talking and that type of thing that goes into gameplay like that, there are games that it's suited for, like Little Big
10-hour
Planet,
games instead of 40-hour games.
and even like Little Big Planet, I want to say has a narrator tied to it. There's various games that have narrators, and those games work well with what they are, because you anticipate there to be a narrator. Excuse me. You anticipate there to be a narrator in the game, right? This game, I wasn't anticipating that. I was thinking like full blown open world, Fallout, but like Biomutant style, with like all these crazy things occurring, like with these animals. And, I thought it was going to be a different experience. And it just kind of, it was just a letdown. I mean, at the end of the day,
You
it
wanted
really
like
was a letdown.
Fallout, Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people wanted that. That was a lot of the expectation from folks, is that we were wanting like this end of the world Fallout open world RPG with Ratchet and Clank type elements and voice acting, and we didn't get that.
This is why
And
I'm so just like disinterested anymore in the open world format, because it's like I feel like no matter what the setup is anymore, I'm just kind of like, eh. And it's like I'm not even, I mean, anybody who's listening to this podcast knows that I'm not like the most prolific game player, but I mean, I had just like the biggest meh reaction to like Pokemon Arceus, and like I love Pokemon, and just to see it like, oh, open world, like open world to me at this point is the same as like, you know, like how everything is like a looter shooter now, or
yeah,
everything is like, you know, over monetized. Like open world is just like another gimmick, and I feel like I'm tired of opening menus and just seeing map markers and just being like, oh man,
well,
that's a
see,
lot of
I
stuff that I'm gonna have to go do for a while.
well, see, I don't mind it so much. I mean, I played, Horizon Zero Dawn and absolutely love that game.
Well,
God,
and
what
I've
was
heard these laments from people that have played Zero Dawn or Horizon Zero Dawn, but like it's a good game and it overcomes that.
Yeah,
But it
exactly.
still has that same fatiguing feeling because it's not a fresh concept anymore. Cause like we spent the whole 90s and before that trying to get out of the corridor. And since then, it's just been all bigger open world with like less and less like quality in those little moments, except for the games that really shine through. Like, I mean, I didn't finish Ghost of Tsushima, but like I
Mhm.
felt that like after I'd played a bunch of Ghost of Tsushima, because it's not like I just barely played it. Like I played a decent chunk of it. And then I was like, oh wait, I've unlocked like a third or half of the first map and I still have all this to do. And it was like compelling to go through, but it was
Mhm.
just seeing the map. I was just like, oh my God, I haven't even gone over here or over there. And if I want to paint all the map in, I just have to kind of do laps back and forth.
Well, see, Tsushima though, and like Horizon Zero Dawn, those two titles had a lot of emotion even in those side quests. Like you could go into a side quest, and while the overall concept might be the same, like, oh, we have to chase down these robbers or we have to do this, each of those side quests had their own story tied to it. And each of them felt good. Like when you completed it, you felt like you were actually accomplishing something in the game, and it didn't feel as repetitive because all those characters had their different emotions tied to them, and there was always just something else kind of going on in those different regions. Whereas with Biomutant, it just all felt very much the same. And because you didn't have that emotion tied to the characters, it just didn't hook you in like a Tsushima or like that of Horizon Zero Dawn. And hopefully Forbidden West is just as good. I mean, I'm okay with open world games. It's not to say I'm not, but this one just really killed it for me. So, like I said, avoid it. It's not worth it. End of the day, small studio, makes sense that, the game was what it was. But, next time, maybe bring in more people because it was a THQ Nordic game, I think, or at least they published it, right? So, yeah, I think, yeah, I think it's just not worth it. So don't bother. But digging into God of War before we jump into our articles here.
So
Uh,
good.
yeah, dude, it's
Maybe
fantastic.
my favorite game ever. I don't know yet.
Yeah, so I ended up let's see. So I finished off The Stranger, finished that part. Uh came across those like witch things. I'm still trying to learn enemy names, but it's like these witches that disappear, and it's Atreus, is that correct? The son's name? And basically
Atreus.
Atreus, yeah. And
Atreus!
yeah, or boy. So
Boy.
yeah, essentially
Boy of War.
it's like some sort of witch enemy that he has to hit him with arrows, so that way you could come in and actually slash them with the axe, and then they disappear and they throw poison at you. I forget the name of them, but I just came across those, and I just beat. What are they draugrs? Is that what they're called?
Draugr, yeah.
Draugrs. So I came across, I think, the heavy draugrs recently, and I had a boss battle there, and then that's where I
Talk to
paused.
us when you get to the boat.
Okay, sounds good. I'll let you know when I get to the boat. But so far, yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a blast. I'm getting a hang of the dodging and such, and of course the utilizing the shield to be able to parry your enemies.
God, I
So
want to
that's
play
pretty
this
cool.
game now. But
Yeah,
I have
it's
two other games I
nope.
have to
You get
play.
two other games. So yeah,
Three.
I'm enjoying it so far. You can live vicariously through me as I play it. Uh, but yeah, it's great. So I'm having fun, and I've always loved the God of War series. So this is what I think 4 years old or 3 years old since it came out,
This
and
came out in, I
I think
want to say,
2017.
yeah, I want to say 2017.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's fantastic so far. So I'm maybe an hour and a half in at most, and I'm loving it so far. So
I can't
we'll,
wait to
we'll
see
see.
how you want to gear in this game, because it's interesting the way that I wound up going with my gear, and the way that I wanted to play was not really what I was expecting to do.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I start gearing up. Like I haven't come across any gear or anything like that, or any upgrades to my weapon yet.
It'll
So
be
well, I've
it'll
had.
be a bit yet. The game is so great in how it has like these multiple points where it's like, oh, the game's opened up. Oh, the game's opened up. Oh, the game's opened up. And it kind of likes to layer these like new aspects of itself onto you in like a good succession, so that you're not just like tackling everything at the beginning. Like that's how I always like, you ever try to play a mobile game and it's like, oh, this looks interesting, I'll check this out. And then it's like, well, I guess the first half hour of this game is all tutorials on the different kinds of currency.
Mhm.
And it's just like, it feels like you're taking forever to really get into it. And God of War just like, it doesn't fuss around with any of that. Like it kind of feeds it to you at kind of the perfect pace.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed so far is like some of the different attacks and such that I've been able to do, or different maneuvers within the game. Like they've all kind of just progressed slowly, which is nice. So I'm liking it. I'll keep playing it, of course, and we'll see where I am next week with it. Probably not far because my family's in town, but we'll see. All right. So before we jump into our articles, of course, find our podcast on all your favorite podcast apps, including Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, etc. And then find us on social media at the Game Deflators on Facebook and Instagram, at Game Deflators on Twitter. And of course, you can find us on thegamedeflators.com. All right. So, first article here, or really first thread, is please be very mindful of predatory monetization in Pokemon Unite. This is by not Nathan Drake on the Reddit thread Nintendo Switch. So r/Nintendo Switch. Um, so, dude, basically, this guy goes into how he's played the game, and he's noticed right off the bat that uh, the game really does try to hook you in on the monetization aspects, is what he's claiming. I haven't tried it yet personally, but for those that don't know, it's a MOBA, and
Well, and
with
preface with
Pokemon.
like, so he opens up with, to preface, I am a free to play mobile game developer. Monetization and strategy around this is my bread and butter. My job is to find the right balance between monetizing your product and players enjoying it. So, I mean, we don't really have a way to verify this guy, and I'm not a
Yeah,
bit Reddit user, so it's not like his name stands out to me. I mean, he's got 23.9K upvote on here, so like, I mean,
so
take
he's
that
taken
as what you
seriously.
will,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, he's claiming he's got some chops to speak professionally on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, he's going into the idea that um, the game, in a sense, lures you in with the standard things that you would get, with your introduction or tutorials and such, where it kind of builds out and gets you a couple gimmies here and there with a few characters and so on, and some cosmetics, but that it very quickly turns from that to an obvious cash grab. In that, where he sees it is you're going to get to a point where everybody else around you, it's pay to win. So everybody else around you is going to be paying to win the game and do better, and you're just going to kind of be sitting there taking forever to level up, taking forever to get new characters and skins because you're not paying into it. And I get it. It's a free to play game, and there's got to be some sort of monetization tied to it, whether it's, advertisements or, in this case, a pay to win concept. But he makes it appear to be as if it's a little unfair, like it's too unbalanced. And if you look at games like, for example, I know it's not a MOBA, but if you look at a game like Pokemon Go is a great game to get into the fact that you can sit there and catch various Pokemon. Your character levels up, you level up with it, you have the chance to do raids and other things. And the monetary aspect of it is there to kind of help boost you in getting things quicker, but you don't need to necessarily buy the items of money to be competitive in the game. Whereas this, he makes it sound like if you want to be competitive, you have to buy into it. And obviously, it's the whole pay to win concept. So essentially, his warning is, if you've got kids and they want to play Pokemon Unite, be super aware of what's going on, because we've heard all those horror stories in the past where, kids rack up like $3,000 and $4,000 on a card through an online or
Didn't we do an
freemium.
article once on like $15,000 from like FIFA or something?
And I don't think it was FIFA. I think it was some kid with like, was it Roblox or something like that?
Maybe Roblox.
I don't remember, but yeah, we had an article at some point in a prior episode where, yeah, some kid spent a crap ton of his parents' money on like a freemium type game, and yeah, it wasn't happy days for them, and they couldn't cancel. I think it was like an Apple game, if I'm correct. No, it was Apple, dude. Some kid like tried to purchase like a bunch of different like skins or something, or like different types of coins for a game, and it was on Apple, and Apple was refusing to refund the mom or something along those lines. I don't remember the
Mm.
exact article, but yeah, we talked about it.
I mean,
So
go ahead.
no, so yeah, basically that's the concept, right? If you got kids, keep an eye on them if they're playing this game. He recommends that if anything, it's adults playing it primarily, and just kind of leave it at that. It's kid friendly in a sense of what it is, but predatory in that you're gonna have kids begging you to buy upgrades and buy cards or whatever the hell else is involved in this to boost up their character, and it's just not worth it. Basically, is what he's saying.
Well, and he gets into it. He says that basically they have like 5 monetization strategies at play in this, and that most other games in this category usually only have about 2. So they're getting a little bit extra greedy. And I mean, to have a game where monetization impacts the actual rate of play is definitely not a good thing for any game. But like in MOBAs, especially, there's so many, like League of Legends, purely cosmetic, Dota, purely cosmetic. Those are the 2 biggest ones. Like they don't have, well, I mean, I guess if I'm remembering right, I think that you can like probably get more runes faster
But I guess
in one of
regardless,
those
man,
games that can make you a little bit stronger. I don't know. But for the most part, like those games are built off of balance and allowing as many people to play for free as possible. And like for Pokemon to be the game that's like stripped away from that, like it makes so much sense because it's just a giant, giant money machine. But it's so disappointing, especially because you know that like they're only going to have so many Pokemon. It's not like everybody that loves Pokemon is going to be able to play this game as their favorite. Like, I'm not going to be able to just like be like, oh, yeah, sweet, dude. I'm going to like main Cubone in this game. Like, that's not going to happen. That's not how Pokemon works ever. But
yeah, and I get it, man. Like in your comparison of like Dota and League of Legends and such, and them having primarily skins and cosmetics and such that are going to be like their primary money makers in that regard, and of course the advertising that goes into it. It is super disappointing to see something like Pokemon being taken advantage of because it's Pokemon, and frankly, that's the route Nintendo is going with a lot of this stuff. I mean, we saw it the Dr. Mario mobile game. We've seen it with this. We've seen it with, I guess Pokemon Go is technically Niantic and the Pokemon Company, but Nintendo, I think, owns a stake in that. So, I mean, Nintendo is just like going rampant with all of these opportunities to make cash whenever they can. And I get it. They're a
I mean,
business,
they
and,
do
and that's
keep
what
it
they're
out
doing.
of their main games.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you're never going to turn on a Mario game that's going to like pressure you to spend money to play more of the Mario game unless it's on like a side platform or it's some weird thing. So it's like I guess as long as they're relegating it to like the BS side stuff that most people like, this was a great idea for a game. And I like MOBAs and I like Pokemon. Would I ever play this? Probably not. But,
yeah.
now I'm definitely not going to play it.
Well, and Nintendo, like I said, man, I understand they got to make money, but they are kind of digging into this, right? So you've got your DLC stuff that I don't think Nintendo I think Nintendo in the past said they wouldn't be doing DLC for games. Now they're like DLC galore any chance that they get, right? So, and I can always appreciate DLC because you're getting more content for the game, but for something like Smash, for example, to have like God, however many damn characters are in that game, it's a cash grab. Every single time they release a new character, it's a flipping cash grab. And it's just kind of it's annoying in a sense, like just to kind of consistently see that across the board from Nintendo. Totally get it. If you're gonna, bitch at me about the fact that, you know, I'm complaining about Nintendo trying to make money, go ahead. But, it's pretty obvious what they're doing. And you say right now, like, hey, they're not putting into their main line of games, and I don't have to buy anything right now for Mario, but at this point, several years from now, they might be. Maybe this is them testing the water, seeing if people are going to effectively like try to, if they're going to actively pay money for these types of games. And will Nintendo down the road start including things like issues like that, where, oh, you want this Mario skin and you want it within like Mario Odyssey 2 or something? Yeah, go ahead and pay X amount of money to get that skin. Like I could just see that happening down the road, and it's frustrating. So, I mean, it's nothing can happen to stop that other than just people not supporting it. That's really what it comes down to, and that's too much to ask. So, all right. Anything else on that before we move on, dude?
Moving on.
All right. So, this one we can be pretty quick on. The new PS5 Digital Edition model revision coming in, and it weighs 300 grams lighter. So this is by Ernest Lin at PSU, and dude,
We
I
don't know
what to
why.
think about this. Like, it's a console revision, but yeah, we don't know why it weighs 300 grams lighter, which I guess in pounds is like a half
This
pound
is
roughly, or a little over a half pound.
this is my
So we
theory.
did this last time, this conversion. Yeah.
So they were like,
What?
"Hey, we're making so much money on the PS5. Let's just file off bits of it so we could save 300 grams worth of dollars." That's my idea. Like, I don't think they changed anything out. They changed out a screw. We do know that they changed out one screw.
One screw is half a pound.
So I mean, like, if they're just like shaving off like metal from like the heatsink or something to try to save themselves money so that they can make more money since it's selling like hotcakes, that's one thing. If they changed out a half a pound's worth of chips so that they could make more of them because of the chip shortage on the chips they're trying to use, that doesn't make any sense at all. So, the truth is somewhere in between those two things. And either way, like,
Could be
I don't see how this is super gonna benefit us. Like, unless it can drastically increase the rate at what they can produce them, then I don't think it really matters. And I think it's just gonna wind up as like a cost saving measure.
Yeah, I think that's really what this is at the end of the day. Kind of similar to Nintendo when they released like that first revision of the Nintendo Switch, where it was like a new battery or something and a different chip, right? That they decided to go with. So there's no crazy bits of information have been provided in here. Just that's 300 grams lighter and leaving us the speculation as to what the hell's going on. I think it's more of a material aspect. They probably changed the materials in which it's actually created. So maybe they've added, more plastic or something instead of metal inside, or maybe they've changed the thickness within the panels or something. I mean, who knows at this point? But as long as the damn thing functions and it works, and
This does not count as the PS5 Slim.
it really doesn't. And actually, the measurements are the exact same thing. The only difference is that it's 300 grams lighter. It's literally the only difference that they're able to find within these specs that have been leaked.
I mean,
Is a
recently,
weight.
yeah, recently with the Nintendo OLED, like, there was a report that came out that was like speculating as to the cost of the new parts and saying like, well, they're jacking it up by $50, but the new screen's going to cost them $7 more per unit, and this other thing is going to cost them like $3 more per unit, so they're going to start making like $30 to $40 more per unit. And Nintendo, who never responds to rumors, was like, wait, no, we're not. That's
Yeah.
false.
Yeah, and there's got to be some sort of truth into it, right? Because Nintendo normally doesn't respond to that. So for them to come out, it's probably true. For them to deny it that harshly. But here's another crazy thing, dude. So it's $50 more, right? And you've got this OLED screen. And what did they do? They doubled the capacity of the space to like 64 gigabytes, right? Like the actual like hard
Oh
drive
yeah,
space that you
yeah,
have
I
available
forgot
to.
about that.
So I was at Costco today, and for sale for $50, okay, you could buy two 256 gigabyte cards,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nintendo branded, right? So I'm
Oh,
like,
the ones with like the mushroom on them or the star or whatever.
I think so, yeah. But the point is, right? Like, oh, we doubled the size or the capacity of the drive so you can save your games. Okay, so you made it 64 gigs, but for $50, I can go buy 520 like right now, like, or no, actually, yeah, 520. Like, how crazy is that? Like, it's $50 more. Like, how much cheaper would it, like,
Digital storage has become so cheap in our
yeah,
lifetime.
I know.
For
And
you
that's
kids that are out there that are young and listening to us, thank you. But second of all, before like micro SD cards, they used to have these big, fat, compact flash cards that went in every digital camera and were like 20 megs.
yeah.
And they were like $70 each.
Yeah, it's insane. Like hard drives back then, I mean, they're still kind of expensive, but if you wanted like a standard hard drive, not like a SATA drive, but like a standard hard drive back then, like a terabyte would run you like a couple $100 easily, and having a case and everything else for it. So I guess the point is, right? And the point I'm trying to make is they've gone ahead and boosted up $50, and there's a report saying that it only costs them $7 to do that. And then the other like big upgrade is they only doubled the memory size of 64 gigs when they have the full capability of having a flippin' SD card that can hold 256 for, on a retail value, $25. So think about their overall cost to make that happen. Like,
Oh, dude, printing those little SD cards has to be like just like printing money.
yeah, it's so ridiculous. So, you know, I don't know how much longer I can support Nintendo with some of these practices. Like, I know all companies do it, but Nintendo is just so obvious with it, dude. That's what's freaky about it, is like they're so obvious that they have this like cult following, and it just drives me insane, dude. Like, I love Nintendo products. I will, play them whenever I can. Obviously, I have plenty of products that, I've purchased in the past of Nintendo, but I equally purchase a lot of Sony, and I have some Xbox and other things as well. And I can't get over Nintendo and their overall practices. I know Sony and Microsoft do similar things, but yeah, Nintendo's just driving me crazy, dude. Ugh, I just can't get over it. Um, all right, let's dig into that, because we went like quickly from PS5 being shaved to Nintendo. The next thing here is a Netflix gaming expansion, and it's starting with mobile. This is Jay Peters at The Verge. We talked about this last week about how there were reports, or not reports, but confirmation that Netflix would be expanding into the video game space, and that they would be including it for free as part of the subscription to all of their users. Further clarification on that in the last week is that they're going to be starting with mobile. And they did reference, by the way, Bandersnatch, the one that I called out to you last week. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not a game. They actually referenced that as one of the reasons they were going in. They also referenced Carmen San Diego, I guess, has like an interactive component to it. And then they, of course, referenced the Stranger Things game, which was themed, of course, after Netflix and that show. So I think personally, I think this is a smart move, dude. They're starting off in a smaller capacity via mobile. Um, there's, from a financial aspect, probably not as much tied into it. They can jump into things like the freemium versions if they want, right? So it's included in as part of your Netflix, but maybe there's in-game purchases that'll be tied to it, which makes sense. But how this expands into like console style down the road, or like being able to stream like bigger games from your TV, who knows? I mean, maybe this is where they stop, right? Maybe they just move forward with mobile and they don't want to mess with the other stuff. Or maybe, like I said, this is a test market for them. It's a way to kind of see how things progress and then slowly start kind of building up what they have. So as people become aware, they don't have to put so much money into it initially. People are going to be aware of the fact that they offer games and then just kind of build upon that. Which, yeah, I think it's a smart move, dude. And, I said last week, if there's one company I think that can kind of crack the video game streaming, it's Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Which,
mean, like they've definitely got the infrastructure down, and like an approach like how Apple did the Apple Arcade is, a good strategy. I don't really see that has really built out into anything from Apple Arcade. And I mean, how long ago did we make our Vectrix video? And we never talk about
um,
Apple Arcade in any interesting way. Like, they launched with like a bunch of interesting titles, and I'm sure that they've gotten some good premium mobile games since then. But I mean, nothing that's caught my radar enough that like I could reference it off the top of my head here.
yeah, I think that episode is episode 47 or 49. That specific episode, it's like the Vectrix Arcade versus Apple Arcade. And yeah, that was one of the last times we talked about it, because you did play it for a little bit after that. But yeah, ever since then, yeah, nothing. So we'll see. I'm definitely interested to see how Netflix kind of progresses here, and if they're able to kind of crack that code and jump into the space. I think it's not going to be an immediate like. I think they're taking a crawl, walk, run approach with it, which I think is smart. I don't see them kind of jumping headfirst like Stadia or even Amazon, like just trying to get the big players tied in and make it a huge initiative when it really doesn't have to. And by the way, Netflix did reference within this interview, I suppose, or wherever this was gathered from, they had mentioned that they're already competing against video games in terms of attention. So that was one of their primary reasons for jumping into some sort of, in some sort of gaming capacity, was because they feel a threat, and they feel a threat from the gaming industry as is. So it's more so a defensive play at the same time, and of course, trying to offer a new revenue stream.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into the inflation deflation this week. So we talked about the Game and Watch that was released in 2020. So developed by Nintendo, published by Nintendo, released in November of 2020. So what is that, like 8 months ago, 9 months ago?
Yeah,
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, right. Game type, it is a platform compilation, except for Ball, which is not a platform. And then you've got a reception of 8 to 9 out of 10. So Ryan, you just picked yours up recently. I picked up mine a while back. Let me just kind of get my quick thoughts on it. So I like the clock component. I think it's pretty cool. I do like that it has that retro vibe going for it, as the classic Game and Watches from years past. So that's always kind of cool. And I've always wanted to own one. So even though it's 2020, it's not like an original. It's still pretty cool, right? You still have that whole vibe going for you. I'm not a huge fan of Ball out of that game.
I like Ball.
I'm not a big fan. I mean, it's a time killer for sure, but it's not something that
Well, that's what
I
they
would.
started as. Like that's the
Yeah,
OG
I
thing, and
know.
that's the reason to put it in your bag and carry it with you, is because games like that are things that you could just pull out and do real quick while you're in a line, and it doesn't really matter. And the ability to just like pause and then continue is like great with this.
Yeah, I mean, I know other things you could pull out really quick and do in a line, but you probably wouldn't want to. So yeah, sorry, had to put that in there, Ryan. So yeah, the other games on there are Lost Levels, which in my mind is the true Mario 2, because I'm a big fan of Mario 2, and you had the original Super Mario Bros. Or Mario Bros. Either way, dude, I think it's pretty cool. Lost Levels is my favorite out of the entire Mario franchise as far as like back then. I prefer it over Super Mario 3, definitely prefer it over 1, and of course prefer it over 2. Actually, I prefer it over the 64 version as well.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so dude, I hate Mario 64. Shit all over me if you want, people, but it's not a good
He
game.
loves it.
It's not a good game. It's pretty bad. And of course, Super Mario World, I think, is top tier in that regard. But I grew up playing a lot of Lost Levels when I was a kid because I had the whole Mario All Stars pack. So that was, of course, one of the first Mario games that I really dug into a lot when I was growing up. And this is pretty cool, right? So it's everything I used to know and love about the game, all in a nice little compact device that I can charge. And it's got a watch to it. So
And it's USB-C.
yeah, that too. So that's always nice. Of course, it has a Mario Bros. Game. So at the end of the day, like, you're not really paying for Mario, right? You're paying for more of the nostalgia component and God, what's the word I'm looking for right now? I guess like the uniqueness of this type of device. It's more so for that, right? It's more so for the collectability aspect, and it was released as like a 35th anniversary item, and technically it's the 35th anniversary Mario Game and Watch. So I mean, when we start looking at things like the price point, it makes sense, where it's at. But what are your thoughts overall in the time that you've spent with it?
I love it, man. Like it's so small but perfectly sized. I mean, the
That's what she
rubbery
said.
buttons aren't really like, this isn't something that you would want to like try to speed run on. Like it's definitely not built for performance. It's built for nostalgia, and I mean, I can't say enough good things about the screen and just how clear and vibrant and great everything looks. I mean, the sound is pretty cool. I love the time mode. I just wish that the screen didn't time out. Like, I would love to be able to just set it on my desk and watch Mario just all day long, just keep track of the time and run across the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, I mean, but at the end of the day, man, when we look at the brass tacks here, okay, so we've got the most expensive version being a new version of it, of course, and the cheapest being a loose version. But complete in box is in about 47.50, peaked at 123 actually when it first came out. It's of course trending downwards, and then a loose copy is going to run you $39. It peaked at 89 back when it first kind of released. That's also trending down. When you kind of consider what you're getting here, um, factoring in nostalgia component, the uniqueness of this item, and it just being a fun little cool piece to own, is it worth the $50?
I mean, I was really on the fence. Like, I didn't want to pay $50 for it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to get it. And then once they announced the Zelda one, I was like, well, if I'm going to get that one, I might as well have both. And if I'm going to get both, I might as well buy one retail. And when I got to the store and I saw there was only one left and there was, no markdown yet, I was like, I better act fast.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's worth $50 for everybody, but I mean, I really think that it's worth $50 for anybody that's interested. Like, you're not going to walk away from this and be disappointed in the way that you would if you spent $50 on a game that you weren't that into, because you could buy this and not really play it and it still looks better than just like a video game box on your shelf.
Yeah,
And
I
it
agree.
entirely plays itself. It's its own system. It's got like history and nostalgia behind it. I mean, the box itself is an interesting, cool looking box. I always bring up boxes, but I think that I think it's great. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a collectible. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you paid for. You paid for a collectible. And I think when you kind of take it into that regard, I would say that the price is just right. When you look into what's been created there, uh, all of the nostalgia components to it, the history behind it, the quality of the build is not bad, and the fact that you are getting several games in there, I think $50 is about right for something of this nature.
Yeah, I mean, anything less than that and it would probably be cheap.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're kind of getting what you pay for with its overall build. And I'm not saying it's like the exact same thing as like the old ones, because those things are built like tanks, I feel, in the few that I've actually like held and played years past. But I do think you get what you pay for in this instance. It hasn't dropped in price anytime recently. It is, of course, going to become more and more scarce in stores. I can't see it going anywhere below $40, moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially the 35th, or not 35th, but the Zelda anniversary coming out. Yeah, I just can't see us going any lower. So I think it's more so if you're listening to this episode and you haven't picked one up yet. I mean, if you got $50 to spare, or a little less if you can find it cheaper, just pick it up. It's a cool piece to own, and
Definitely.
it's a good display piece for sure. All right, man. Well, I guess we'll pick up Blue's Clues next week.
We
So
sure will.
yeah, we sure will. Well, and it's the best thing is that I have a friend coming into town. We aren't going to say it just in case Joel hears this episode, but I've got a friend coming into town, and yeah, he'll get to enjoy this game with us, and I think he's going to have a blast watching you play some Blues Clues with me. It's going to be great.
I
It's going
bet.
to be
I
like
bet everyone will love that.
it's going to be like Bible time games or Bible game times. Bible game time. Sorry, Bible time games. Yeah, I think we're going to have a blast of this next week. All right. Well, regardless, this has been episode 141 of the Game Deflators podcast. I'm starting to lose track of numbers, by the way, man. Like, we're getting into that, you know, we've got a crap ton of episodes now. And once we hit 150, I'm going to start probably saying like 15 whenever we're saying episode numbers. But yeah, 141th episode. See, 141 of the Game Deflators podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.